Hey guys, welcome back to Counterside. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at this week's meta in Arena, units to keep an eye out for, units that are going to probably fall off, and units that might be cheap value that you might want to invest in. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's go through these ban and ups list. Then the up characters, I'll go through all their skills, and then I'm going to go through the skills and some units that I think you guys should invest in as well after we go through the quick summary. So, banned units. Xiaolin was banned last week, but she was at a ban 1. So for those that don't know, bronze, these bans don't take effect, I'm pretty sure. So bronze, you're pretty good to go with whatever if you're a new player. Moving on from that, the ban system is a ban 1 increases deployment cost by 1, ban 2 increases by 2, and so on and so forth. But also they can't be used as leader. So Xiaolin was at a ban 1 last week, still saw heaps of usage because she's just so powerful. I think this ban 2 is going to completely phase her out and she's going to be just done for this week. Chifuyu going straight to a ban 2. Now, she was incredibly powerful in the last meta, and at a 3 deployment cost, it was ridiculous. So she was pretty dominant. And basically, in most higher end meta teams in the top 50, you pretty much always see Chifuyu, Gwen, who I do say that name wrong, and I apologize, and Liz. Like, those 3 were pretty much staples in most top end teams. And Chifuyu was so strong in that, but now I don't think we'll see much usage of her at all because that 5 deployment cost is really going to hit her. Kyle Wong. Now, I think we'll see more Kyle Wong up higher now because he used to be at a ban 2 last week. Now he's at a ban 1. 4 deployment cost for Kyle for what he actually brings to the table isn't too bad, so I think he's going to see some use. Yang Harim, we did see her last week. I'm pretty sure she was at a 2 ban last week, so I think we'll see more of Yang Harim in certain teams, not every team, not fully splashed. The other thing is that due to this chick's name, who I suck at, Nana, she because she's getting a buff, she might see more use, and we might see less use of Yang Harim because of that, so she might still stay fairly out of the meta at this stage. Gwen, now, she's probably still, she might see some use. She's really helpful, but the fact that Sylvia's in the up units who serves a similar role on the control front, obviously she's still going to be powerful with her ability to reduce enemies' attack speed and stuff like that. But at a forecast, I think some people might still use her if they've invested in her, but you won't see people like going out and trying to build her now for this week's meta. Then we have Elizabeth. Now, I think Elizabeth will still see some use. Like I said, she was one of the staples in all the top teams, and her use isn't to be spammed. It's more of a situational, okay, they're grouped up, I can drop her on top of those tanks, deal some nice damage, bounce back and do my AoE spam and basically chunk them out. So because tanks are going to be pretty prominent in this meta, which we'll talk about in a sec, I think Elizabeth will still see play in a lot of teams because her niche positioning doesn't change in that she's not there to be spammed all the time. She's there to be used when you can make a full impact out of her. So I think she will still see some play. Now banned ships. Gleipnir is at a ban 2. I believe it was 1 last week. This is everyone's, ship free to play that they get through the ticket. Now Abraham's looking like the better option at the moment. But if you're new and you're just getting there, it's your second season, don't stress. Just use the Gleipnir if it's all you've got until you get towards getting to one of the SSR ships. But yeah, it is what it is. It's sort of more of an encouragement to the whales to build their ships and stuff like that. Moving on to the up units. Now, Hayami is going to be strong. Like, these 3 were all heavily seen in the top 50 meta. So I was really surprised when I saw these ups. She's really strong with a good knockback on a low cooldown. And then we have Sylvia, who's just ridiculously strong, especially if you skill up her special to get it to stun all enemies as opposed to just the mechs. So she's going to be really strong in this meta as well. And those 2 being snipers is where I think it's going to turn to a sniper meta, which is also going to make us see more tanks to avoid those snipers and stuff like that. And then we do have Nana here, Nanahara. I think she's just a really solid support. You know, she's got the heals, everything's on a fairly low cooldown. She's just decent all around, and all these three being a 2 deployment cost, I think you're going to see these as pretty much staples in every high ranked team. If things go the way I think they will. But now we'll jump over, we'll go take a closer look at these guys' skills and what you might want to invest into them, and then some other picks that I have for you guys. Okay, so first off, for the buffed units, we're going to look at Sylvia. Now, she is going to be everywhere in my opinion. Fantastic unit. Now, as for investment, keep in mind when we look at these skills through this page, the cooldowns are reduced. So like the 24-second cooldown is at max skill, the 50-second cooldown is at max skill. Just keep those in mind as well. Like, so her base isn't 50 seconds, then if you skill it up, goes to 35. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, keep that in mind for these skill ups. But basically, she is incredibly strong. Now, I feel like her second skill with the mech buff is going to affect some units, which we'll talk about in a second. But this one here, if you... Out of the 3 units in the buff list, I think Sylvia's third skill is the most important one to skill up if you're going to be using all of them even. I just think that being able to stun every enemy, not just mechs, who, yes, you do see some, but you want to get that stun added to soldiers and counters. Also brings it down to a 24-second cooldown, which isn't too bad, but this skill is the big skill for Sylvia. And, you know, if you're running out of skill books and stuff like that, this is the one that I would aim for. Now, with Sylvia, I personally start her up using cores because I want to save her dupes for the future when we get the limit breaking past the 100. But that is definitely the skill. She's going to be very strong with that control, the extra damage, the 2 deployment cost, which is the huge thing. If she does get around to using an ult, it's amazing damage, except it does take a while with 65 seconds at base. But because she's cheap to deploy, you'll deploy her a few times, even if she does get killed, and hopefully you can get around to it at one stage during a battle, unless you win beforehand. I'd be doing losing. Next up, we have Hayami. Now, I feel like she works fairly well at base. Obviously, her second skill, I feel like, basically, she and surrounding units inflict 20% more damage on siege units. It's pretty much a non-effect at the moment in PvP. Now, when you do get it maxed out, also melee damage taken minus 30%. This is quite nice. So this skill basically does nothing. At max, it does something. This skill, the 4-second cooldown is nice. The damage increase is nice as well. And then this one, obviously, very similar. It's at a 60-second base. You can reduce it down to a 50-second cooldown. But this special skill is going to be her main skill. A knockback on a 26-second cooldown at base ain't too bad with 3 valid hits. And this is where she's really strong. 1, she's got the damage increase. 2, she's got a 2 deployment cost now, and she's got knockback for days. And if you do have her well invested, she's got that melee damage taken down. And then she does get around to these a lot quicker, and decreasing enemy attack speed is nice as well. So that's her. Definitely, I think if you've got her at max star and leveled, even if you don't have skill ups, she's going to be really powerful in this meta. And finally, we have Nanahara. Now, this one, the thing I really like about her is, if you have her, she's going to be incredibly solid. Just a great support, especially that 2 deployment cost. The thing that I really like is her level 2 and 3 skill ups on her special and ultimate. Both give cooldown reduction. So those are the cheap ones that don't take the red books. If you're really strapped, you can go ahead and invest in those 2 at level 2 and 3 and get some cooldown reduction on your abilities, which is going to help you anyway without being too expensive. And all her skills really function pretty well without skill ups anyway. The ultimate, you're not overly stressed about this stage getting the extra attack. Like, that's very niche late clutch plays that hopefully you don't need every match. This one, obviously the cooldown reductions are really nice to get, but like I said, you can get 2 seconds of that cooldown reduction, bring it down to like a 28-second cooldown, and then the others are going to be more expensive. This one, getting the damage reduction up an extra 10% is nice, but not 100% necessary. So I think her, if you have her, once again, she's going to be in your team at such a cheap deployment cost, with a low special skill cooldown, even without the skill ups, is going to be really solid support for your team. Now I wanted to quickly talk about Estarossa and Titan. Estarossa dominates the low ranks when people haven't got fully leveled teams. You know, so you just boost her up to max stars, you boost her up to level 100, and she can basically just carry you through everything through the lower ranks. But I think at the higher ranks, she already wasn't used a hell of a lot in the previous meta, and I think she's going to drop off more in this one, obviously due to those snipers getting the buff, meaning she's going to have a harder time tanking it out, and that's pretty much where she sits. I think she would have been on the chopping block to get a decrease, but because the snipers got the buff, I think she managed to keep her position where she is. Still going to be a really strong unit for especially like free to play and newer players, but at the higher ranks I don't think she's going to see too much play now. And then if we talk about Titan as well, there's an amazing mech team. If you chose the Abraham over the Gleipnir, the Abraham obviously increases all the mech stats and stuff like that, heals them, all the good stuff. But this guy had a savage team, a free-to-play friendly as hell team if you had him as the main one you needed. I saw people doing it with like the N drones, the 2 N drones. People were making teams with that and climbing high in rank using this guy. I still think this is going to be a very solid team doing the mech team, because obviously Sylvia is going to be in everyone's team who was part of that team. She's going to be buffing them as well. But I think this isn't going to be as top just due to the fact of those snipers sort of negating Titan's effect a little bit, but still an incredibly strong team with the Titan team. I think he's probably going to see more higher end play than Estarossa in this meta, but we'll have to wait and see. Now for my number one pick that I think everyone should probably invest in this guy to some extent because it's so cheap to invest in him, and that is going to be Hound. Now this guy is really good value because yes, his special skills skill ups are nice, but you don't 100% need them. You can literally, in the event we're all farming at the moment, this guy drops, so everyone can 6-star him, and then you just level him up and you splash him in your team. Now, the reason he's going to be so strong is because, one, we have those snipers in the meta at the moment, which means he's a defender. He's going to get reduced damage. I think defenders, just in general, we're going to see more of them. And one, he's got that, but two, because everyone's going to be using Sylvia, he gets the Sylvia buffs as well, which is making him even stronger. Obviously, a 20-second cooldown on a knockback ain't too bad at all. And he's got an AoE basic attack that is also going to taunt the enemies he hits. So you got taunt, you got AoE taunt plus knockback on a low cooldown, and he's a tank. But he's literally a tank as well. So like the dude's solid. Yes, this third skill is a nice one to go ahead and skill up. These two don't matter at all. The damage isn't really what it's there for. Like this one here, you could do the level 2 and 3 at a cheap cost, or 4 if you want to go that far to get his HP up. Those are going to be nice. And probably like the 2 and 3 is probably, I'd definitely invest just because it's going to be such a cheap cost. And this level 5, if you're going to go to there, would be nice, but once again, not necessary for free-to-plays who don't have much to invest. I think he's going to be a really solid option, really easy to build. Go ahead and build one. Going to be really useful in future weeks, but also this week specifically due to what the meta is doing. Another unit that sees a fair bit of play, and I think he's going to see more play in this meta, is Stronghold. This guy, basically, his damage reduction against ranged enemies is what's going to do it. So if we got these passive skills, decreases damage taken by 10%, but then the skill ups, range damage, resistance plus 5%, and plus 10%. And then damage taken at minus 10% from attacks from the front. He's just a mitigation beast, and I think he's going to be very dominant. Also, I really do like this passive as well. Increase allies damage reduction when he dies, which is really nice. You know, if he's going to be dying, may as well get that. Plus you get skill ups for duration. So like, I think it's a really nice little passive. It's not the most important thing, but it's not too bad. But yeah, this skill here with skill ups, the passive, this one, I think this is going to make him really strong in this meta. And if people aren't bringing enough ranges to counter this guy, I think he could be very dominant. Now, there's heaps of units I could keep covering, but this is going to be the last one we're going to look at in this video. And this is not a go out there and build. This isn't like Hound where I'm like, just everyone, just go build it. This is my one where this is my niche pick personally, where I think she is going to have a place, but I'm not 100% sure. So watch this space. I will cover it in like a couple days time to see where the meta's panning out. But Ingrid. Now, unfortunately, she is a striker, which means she's weak against snipers. If she was like a ranger, she'd be so much more functional. Now, the reason we're looking at her is because of her passive skill. She can deploy anywhere on the field, which is the big thing. So even in the last meta, where Xiaolin was really strong, I saw people trying to use her. I heard mixed things about her. Some people said it was good. Some people said she got one shot by Xiaolin. Now in this meta where Xiaolin is pretty much going to be non-existent, but we've got two other snipers that are very dominant, I feel like she's going to have a really strong place in this one because she can drop behind them as long as she avoids their special and ultimate skills. So the problem with Xiaolin was her basic attacks are guaranteed, with skill ups, are guaranteed to crit, deal massive damage, and everyone's on a crit damage set with her. So you just deploy her behind a Xiaolin, Xiaolin fires one shot and she's pretty much dead. Whereas the two snipers that are going to be meta in this format are going to be not as strong with their basic attacks. You know, they one has AoE basic attacks. Their basic attacks aren't the main part of their kit. So as long as you can avoid their special attacks on your deployment, you should be able to go in there with her and kill them. Now, I haven't tested this. This is more of a theory, but this is one that definitely watch this space. I'm keen to see how she functions in this meta. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day and good luck in the meta.